saved my life in Kabul. We were in an undertow, and a few weeks later we ended.
On January 30th, 2026, news of Catherine O'Hara's passing was confirmed through a statement so brief it felt almost cold. No cause, no explanation, not a single sign offered to the public beforehand. A public life spanning more than half a century closed with a few lines sufficient to complete the formalities of information, yet insufficient to explain what had truly come to an end. That silence left behind an uneasy void. Catherine O'Hara had endured in the public memory through laughter and rhythm. When she entered the frame, everything seemed to slow just enough to hold steady. Comedy never slipped into excess. Emotion was never forced. Audiences grew so accustomed to seeing Catherine O'Hara smile that her presence itself seemed permanently assured. Only days earlier, O'Hara still appeared as a familiar part of the creative landscape. No farewell had been arranged. No sign suggested that the rhythm was about to stop. Her passing came so swiftly that memory had no time to adjust the image that had existed for decades. As familiar roles replay like a collective reflex, the lingering question does not rest on titles or achievements. It settles on something quieter. How can one person spend an entire life making the world feel lighter, while the weight she carried herself was almost never seen? And was that silence a choice, or the price required for laughter to remain standing? That silence was not a state that appeared late in life. It was a natural continuation of a way of living shaped very early on. Not to reveal too much, to stand steady under the gaze of others without exposing the weight one carries. To understand how someone could spend a lifetime making the world laugh while rarely revealing her own fatigue, one must return to where those reflexes first took form. When Catherine O'Hara was not yet seen as a comedian, but simply a child learning how to exist within the order of family and society. Catherine Ann O'Hara was born on March 4, 1954, in Toronto, into an Irish Catholic family where collective routine and personal responsibility were placed ahead of private emotion. The sixth of 7 children, she grew used early to neither claiming the center nor being allowed to disappear. In such a structure, attention was not freely given. It had to be moderated, shared, and kept at a level that would not disrupt the common rhythm. Laughter in that environment was not a form of release. It functioned as a way of regulating the atmosphere, connecting people, and keeping things running smoothly. From an early age, O'Hara lived in a space where personal feelings needed to be controlled, where self-restraint was valued over expression, and where knowing when to stop was considered a life skill. Her childhood moved within a steady rhythm, where habit and order governed daily life. That environment shaped in O'Hara a quiet kind of discipline, formed through observation and adaptation rather than open confrontation. Every personal expression carried an awareness of limits, and any deviation, if it appeared, was gently guided back into the shared orbit. At Burnham Thorpe Collegiate Institute, she studied in a structured setting where school days were divided by bells, long hallways, and crowded classrooms. Everything moved according to a familiar pace that left little room for conspicuous difference. Catherine O'Hara occupied that space as a student who knew how to hold her place, neither seeking attention nor withdrawing from the group. In class and shared activities, she gradually became accustomed to listening more than speaking. And brief conversations between periods, rehearsals, and quiet waiting moments became places where O'Hara learned to observe people. She noticed shifts in tone, small gestures that seemed unconscious, and the ways individuals adjusted themselves to fit the surrounding space. There was no stage yet, no camera, but a durable working habit was already forming. Observe first, store the details, then attempt to recreate. Those seemingly calm years accumulated into a reservoir of human material, the foundation for her later versatility in performance. From that base, Catherine O'Hara entered the world of theater and comedy with a rhythm already familiar, working within structure, enduring pressure, and keeping emotion under control. That early formed endurance followed her into another environment, harsher and more direct. In 1974, Catherine O'Hara joined the Second City in Toronto and stepped into a workspace organized by rhythm. The rehearsal room was narrow, the ceiling low, the dark wooden floor marked by the shoes of generations before her. Folding chairs were packed close together, lights aimed straight at the playing area. One performer had barely left the stage before another was already waiting in the wings. A scene ended with laughter still hanging in the air. The next had already begun. Movement was continuous, no pause, no turning back. Here, a laughter was born from survival reflex, a glance shifting direction, a line spoken over another, a change in breathing could tilt an entire scene. Performers on stage had to listen without interruption, track the smallest signals, and place their lines in the exact moment required. Every step depended on the partner across from them. Every reaction had to fit precisely for the rhythm to keep flowing. In that environment, O'Hara worked as an understudy for Gilda Radner. She sat quietly in the back row, observing each scene, memorizing blocking, entrances, exits, and distances across the floor. When her turn came, she stepped in at the exact tempo the ensemble knew by heart. There was no personal warm-up, no advance signal. Preparation meant mastering small details and ensuring the scene continued to run smoothly. Performances linked into a steady chain of days, rehearsals in the afternoon, shows at night. Lights rose, the stage filled with voices, then went dark quickly to make room for the next scene. Actors learned to read space with eyes and ears, to hold a line long enough for the audience to follow, short enough not to eclipse a partner. A lifted eyebrow, a pause placed with precision, could redirect an entire sketch. Within that flow, O'Hara developed a work habit rooted in ensemble awareness. She held rhythm for others, adjusted herself to the collective structure, and chose the moment to step into the center when a scene required it. There was no fixed role to anchor to, only continuous presence, repeated night after night with the same demand: stand in the right place, speak at the right time, and then step away so the scene could keep opening. Through such days, the stage became a measure of endurance. Laughter was produced through tempo, precision, and the ability to carry weight. Work happened in brief light, then vanished, leaving behind a professional reflex that would follow O'Hara for years. To treat every appearance as part of a larger mechanism where steadiness mattered more than display. She then moved into a wider space, where improvisational reflexes were no longer confined to rehearsal rooms, but captured on camera and broadcast. From 1976 onward, she became a core face of Second City Television, a comedy program born from the Toronto stage that quickly extended its reach beyond Canada. Cameras replaced the small auditorium, but the working rhythm remained. Scene into scene, characters appearing and disappearing, speed and accuracy always paramount. SCTV operated amid constant shifts. The show frequently changed broadcast partners and at times fell in between network deals when production schedules were disrupted and airtime uncertain. Performers had to adapt to irregular taping rhythms, rewrite material, and adjust pacing for different broadcast versions. During these gaps, O'Hara left the program and returned in step with production, moving alongside a structure in continual flux. On screen, O'Hara developed a distinctly transformative style. She did not anchor herself to a single character type, but moved between forms, voices, and temperaments. One character exited the frame, another entered immediately, never allowing the audience to settle into a single trajectory. That flexibility placed her at SCTV's center, stable enough to hold the program's rhythm, adaptable enough to weather backstage upheaval. Her work there brought O'Hara her first international professional recognition. Late 1970s and early 1980s seasons led to primetime Emmy attention and multiple nominations, marking a comedian from Canada operating seamlessly within the American television system. Achievement came from sustained intensity, writing, performing, editing, and restructuring characters episode by episode, rather than from a single role. Amid SCTV's shifting pace, 1981 opened another turn in O'Hara's schedule. She was invited to join Saturday Night Live at a moment of restructuring, as the show sought performers accustomed to improv pressure. Preparations moved quickly, the schedule compressed, everything arranged for a national debut. But the process stopped before cameras rolled. O'Hara left while still in the preparation stage. And no public controversy followed that decision. Speculation surfaced and faded, and O'Hara stated her reason plainly. She did not want to live in New York City. The choice related directly to daily rhythm and long-term sustainability, rather than to any professional conflict. When SCTV secured a broadcast agreement with NBC, she returned to the program, back to a familiar workflow where professional demands and personal life did not pull in opposing directions. Returning to SCTV did not resemble a retreat. It placed O'Hara back inside an environment still evolving, where each taping required constant adjustment. Cameras captured minute detail, demanding physical control and restrained expression, while performance speed remained essential. Network changes, uneven schedules, and pressure to maintain quality turned every appearance into a test of stability. Her final SCTV years unfolded in an unbroken labor rhythm. Characters emerged and withdrew, scenes followed one another without pause, and precision demands grew stricter. When the show ended in 1984, Catherine O'Hara stepped out of that familiar frame with a craft honed through repeated upheaval. The work had taught her how to move between structures, keep rhythm as circumstances shifted, and carry that reflex into new working spaces, where cameras and frames imposed new standards. In the mid-1980s, American cinema opened into a different working rhythm, and Catherine O'Hara entered it not through roles designed to dominate the center, but through positions demanding precision within the whole. In After Hours, 1985, directed by Martin Scorsese, she appeared inside a narrative driven by nocturnal tension and rapid collisions. And the role did not occupy long screen time, yet it landed at an exact point, keeping the story's trajectory from slipping. That concise, timely presence marked a natural shift from television to film, where O'Hara continued working through discipline, tempo, and spatial awareness refined earlier. Subsequent projects placed her within mainstream structures that left little room for exaggerated physicality or offbeat vocal rhythms. In Heartburn, she moved along the frame's edges, sustaining relational balance without pulling focus. Each response was measured, maintaining the shared tempo. Such roles required constant recalibration. Each director brought a different organization, each film a distinct pace. The actor's position became a small anchor point helping the structure stand. In these quiet parts, Miss O'Hara strengthened a crucial capacity, remaining steady at the margins without disappearing. In 1988, Beetlejuice, directed by Tim Burton, created a clear deviation. Not because it was a lead role, but because for the first time, she held a character too singular to dissolve. Delia Dietz existed in a world where realism bent and exaggeration became language. O'Hara shaped Delia through taut physicality, a voice pitched off natural rhythm, and gestures seemingly errant yet frame precise. Each entrance cut diagonally across the film's space, never central, yet impossible to ignore. Delia balanced absurdity and control so finely that a single misstep could have tipped into empty excess. That control made the character linger as sensation rather than explanation. After Beetlejuice, O'Hara was not immediately pushed into leads. She continued in supporting positions that kept narratives moving. That yet another image gradually formed. More everyday, less demonstrative, able to reach broad audiences naturally. In 1990, Home Alone opened a different space. As Kate McAllister, she needed none of Delia's eccentricity. The character functioned as an emotional axis amid hurried family motion. Anxious, rushed, tense, but not collapsing. Searching eyes, a quickened yet unbroken voice, a body in constant motion, ordinary reflexes preventing the story from tipping into pure chaos. The success of Home Alone carried that image further than any prior role, embedding it across generations. The busy, persistent mother became associated with O'Hara through familiarity rather than proclamation. Audiences trusted the character and thus her presence. Home Alone 2. Lost in New York extended the trajectory on a louder scale while preserving the core. Success did not lock her into a single mold. After these popular films, she continued moving among projects of varied scale and tone, accepting off-center positions to sustain a long professional rhythm, where endurance, precision, and adaptability remained the quiet operating axis. Entering the 1990s, Catherine O'Hara's trajectory did not narrow into a single recognized image, but expanded across different performance languages, where voice, presence, and structural balance became central. In 1993, she voiced a role in The Nightmare Before Christmas, a form of acting relying purely on sound. With no frame to lean on, every emotional shade had to travel through breath, pitch, and pause. The role was not loud, yet it showed O'Hara's ability to shift across expressive forms, creating presence without her body appearing on camera. At the same time, another direction formed through collaborations with Christopher Guest, where the mockumentary style became both a testing ground and a space where improv reflexes met more intricate structure. Waiting for Guffman introduced a mode of acting that felt natural, yet tightly controlled. Characters spoke as if living, but each comedic beat had to land precisely to keep the film on course. And O'Hara did not appear to deliver bits, but to stabilize that faux documentary world, where deviation worked only within hidden order. The following films, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, and For Your Consideration, raised that demand further. Mockumentary forbids acting in the conventional sense. Performers must exist between everyday behavior and comedic design, where lines sound improvised, yet carry script-level precision. This labor demands discipline, listening, holding ensemble rhythm, adjusting in real time without exposing the mechanism beneath. Here, O'Hara's improv foundation became a clear professional asset. She did not need the center to make an impression. Correct pitch and timing were enough for the character to emerge. These roles revealed a different O'Hara, more restrained, sharper, trusting the structure. Naturalness here meant refined control, precision soft enough that audiences believed events were simply unfolding. Thus, 1993 to 2006 did not create a dramatic turn, but gradually widened her working range. From performance reduced to voice alone to faux documentary worlds demanding discipline, O'Hara continued placing herself in structures requiring endurance and adaptability. Laughter was built not on peaks, but on rhythm, listening, and precision discreet enough to hide as technique. When the mockumentaries closed, she moved into dramatic television without reintroducing herself through a new image. Hollywood did not offer a repositioning lead. What accompanied her was accumulated professional trust, the ability to enter an existing world and keep it in rhythm. From 2003 to 2005, O'Hara appeared in 6 Feet Under, a storytelling space shaped by prolonged silences, recurring death, and accumulating emotional fatigue. Her character was not written to seize conflict or create obvious highlights. She existed as part of a worn life, where slowed gazes and pauses carried weight. This acting allows no quick points. It demands proportion within a severe narrative tempo, where excess movement is magnified and deviation hard to hide. Later television roles placed O'Hara similarly, beside, holding rhythm, present long enough for audiences to trust the constructed world. Often these were women who had lived long enough not to explain themselves. No lines designed to seize the frame. No applause moments. Work occurred in neutral zones, where credibility over time mattered more than instant impact. Some in 2010, with the HBO film Temple Grandin, Catherine O'Hara played Temple Grandin's aunt. The character lived at the edge of the central story, yet helped shape the emotional environment in which Temple grew up. O'Hara did not turn the role into a symbol or try to heighten the relationship. She held it at a measured level, a familiar relative, steadily present, carrying a blend of protectiveness and helplessness. That restraint brought her an Emmy nomination, not as a reward for a single explosive moment, but as recognition for precision and depth sustained in quietness. Alongside television, O'Hara continued voice work and film appearances across these years. The roles did not form a clear upward line. They spread according to schedules, invitations, and differing project structures, scattered, varied, rarely central to media focus. Yet that dispersion allowed her to maintain a steady working rhythm, not locked into a single image. In an industry increasingly favoring novelty and constant self-redefinition, such a choice carried risk. No publicity surge, no easy label. O'Hara accepted this, continuing in a zone requiring patience and endurance. Roles followed one another like extended shifts, not creating a singular peak, but gradually accumulating professional credibility, difficult to replace. From that persistent, low-profile current, O'Hara moved toward another point in her career, where reflexes gathered over decades would be called back at once, in a form seemingly familiar, yet long unexpected. The turning point came late, so late few anticipated it. In 2015, when she appeared in Schitt's Creek, she did not enter as a returning star reclaiming old ground. Moira Rose emerged out of step with every familiar norm, excessively dressed, speaking as though each line were in quotation marks, existing in a small town like a remnant of a vanished world. Yet that excess became the site where O'Hara's professional layers converged. Moira was not built through linear psychology. She lived through rhythm, pitch, stress placement, and irregular pauses. Each line resembled a self-contained sketch, yet never left the overall structure. Improv, mockumentary, film, and dramatic television compressed into a form both absurd and chillingly precise. Moira Rose did not need explanation. She existed, and the world adjusted around her. Importantly, Moira was not a scene stealer in an easy sense. She could dominate a moment yet withdrew at the right instant, preserving ensemble rhythm. O'Hara held Moira on a thin boundary between comedy and injury, where laughter erupted faster than self-protective reflex, masking the fear of being seen yet no longer needed. This was not a late career display, and it was the moment someone long used to the frame's edge stepped to the center without losing control. As Schitt's Creek neared its end, recognition arrived decisively but without noise. Moira Rose brought O'Hara major awards: Primetime Emmy, Golden Globe, Screen Actors Guild Award, in a season leaving little room for debate. These honors did not mark a sudden breakthrough. They clarified a decades-long path, endurance long enough to stand at the center without altering one's craft. The series did not create a new Catherine O'Hara. It opened a position where accumulated reflexes could operate fully. In that moment, the career did not need rewriting. It appeared more slowly, more clearly, like a text long present, only now read in full. Even then, being fully understood was not guaranteed. In 2024, O'Hara returned to Delia Dietz in Beetlejuice. Familiar signs remained: off-kilter aesthetics, the excess that once defined the image. Yet this Delia no longer disrupted. When exaggeration has become a common language, the shift lies in pitch. The character held lower, heavier, like a trace of an aesthetic that has passed through many cycles and no longer needs self-assertion. Delia no longer needed to prove relevance. She existed like a sediment layer, still recognizable in original shape, yet carrying the weight of time. The presence did not feel like repetition. It showed what might still stand when excess itself has become ordinary. After professional trajectories stretching across decades, there was a part of Catherine O'Hara's life that did not operate by shooting schedules or scripted structures. It did not appear regularly, was not marked by awards, and did not follow the tempo her work had trained for years. It formed in the spaces between one project and another, where a person is no longer measured by professional reflex, but by the ability to remain with others long enough for a shared rhythm of life to take shape. In 1988, during the filming of Beetlejuice, O'Hara met Bo Welch. The set was a space pushed to extremes: oversized costumes, surreal environments, visual decisions made under constant pressure. They did not meet in stillness. They moved within the familiar backstage current, arriving early, leaving late, living among drawings, tests, revisions, and workdays stretching beyond expectation. Welch worked with space, structures that allowed on-screen worlds to stand. O'Hara worked with characters, forms clearly present, yet not needing to be named. Both were accustomed to shaping the whole without claiming the center. That similarity went unspoken. It existed in repeated working rhythms, in days shared within schedules that left no room to separate emotion from discipline. In 1992, they married, and there was no sign their lives required rearranging from the start. Marriage entered as a continuation of an existing rhythm. Mornings began with work schedules on the refrigerator, short calls to say when one would be home. Some days they shared a set, meeting at the frame's edge, before separating again into their respective tasks. Some days one worked while the other stayed home, keeping the household rhythm so the day could still end with a shared meal, even if late. Shared life was organized through small things, little explanation needed. When work consumed the day, the rest was preserved through mutual understanding: when to ask, when to remain quiet, when a workday had been long enough not to need commentary. Love existed in the steady repetition of such details, not outward-facing, not seeking confirmation. The early years of marriage passed in flexibility. Schedules shifted, but daily rhythm remained. Mornings, sometimes shared, evenings spent together, though each carried a different fatigue. Nothing suggested private life needed to step into light to be validated. Family came later, at a slower pace. When Matthew was born in 1994, then Luke in 1997, O'Hara had reached a stage where constant visibility was no longer required to affirm identity. Work schedules narrowed. Projects were chosen close enough that evenings could end at home. Long trips were weighed, Daytime gaps were preserved, not through grand decisions but small adjustments. In conversations recorded by People, O'Hara spoke plainly about that time. She worked less when the children were young. She prioritized projects in town. She stayed closer while it still mattered. The story was not framed as sacrifice, but as organization, work stepping back just enough that the rest of the day did not disappear. When asked how she most wished to be remembered, O'Hara did not mention roles or awards. She spoke of being a mother. The answer was not delivered as declaration, but as a truth lived long enough not to require emphasis. Her marriage and family life rarely appeared in headlines. Biographical sources record no major public scandals or conflicts. Not from lack of story, but from a boundary clearly held. What happened at home did not need public light to be affirmed. Family existed outside the frame, not hidden, but protected so it could move by its own rhythm. Within that structure, work did not vanish, but did not dominate. Schedules shifted, projects came and went. Yet another quiet center held tempo. Evenings returned too, meals not bound to strict hours, days at home unlinked to publicity or premieres. Family was not set against career. It existed alongside it, close enough to shape choices, quiet enough not to be named. O'Hara spoke little of private life. When she did, words were brief and direct, without boast or justification. Working less during the children's early years, choosing nearby projects, these were mentioned as self-evident decisions made while living, not raised into philosophy. Family, in her telling, was not a new role, but a portion of life's rhythm she chose to keep. That part of life was not organized around peaks or named moments. And it unfolded through steady repetition of a rhythm kept sufficiently private so the most important things were not swept into public display. In that quiet space, her love, marriage, and family existed. Not showy, not explained, but steady enough to accompany her through many professional phases without rupture. Work continued to extend, not as comeback or new phase requiring a marker, but as a familiar part of an already arranged life. O'Hara kept working, stepping into large structures, only at a different tempo, calmer, less dense, no longer driven to prove or prolong presence through volume. Labor no longer stood apart from private life. It moved alongside it, lighter but not loose. In 2025, Catherine O'Hara appeared in the studio on Apple TV Plus as Patty Lee, a character positioned at the operational center of a creative system, where power comes not from the spotlight, but from the ability to keep an entire ensemble in rhythm. The role did not seek dramatic peaks or immediate sympathy. Her presence functioned like a quiet anchor, steady enough for the structure to hold, restrained enough that technique never needed to show itself. And that same year, O'Hara made a guest appearance in The Last of Us on HBO, a storytelling world built from scarcity, loss, and sustained tension. The screen time was brief, yet the performance was noted for precision and the ability to create weight in a space that allowed no excess. She entered, placed the character exactly where needed, and left, giving the sense that the narrative had been steadied at a crucial point. These appearances did not form a declaration. They followed one another like the final shifts in a long working life, where experience operates without display. O'Hara did not appear as a returning icon, nor did she stand in a position to summarize a career. She simply continued working as she had for decades, arriving at the right place, doing the right part, and withdrawing once the structure stood firm. Then, at some point, that working rhythm stopped. Not with a statement, not with a marked final appearance. Filming schedules simply no longer continued, backstage conversations no longer extended, and a presence once familiar quietly withdrew from the industry's shared life, just as quietly as it had existed for years. On January 30, 2026. Ice O'Hara's representative confirmed that she had passed away in the United States after a brief illness. The announcement was measured, without medical detail or narrative expansion. No story was extended further. The manner of that communication reflected the life O'Hara had chosen to maintain for decades. Private, restrained, and unwilling to place personal matters in public display. Only hours after the news was confirmed, Macaulay Culkin spoke. Not at length, not in the tone of a prepared statement. He did not mention films, name roles, or place O'Hara in the position of a professional icon. Culkin wrote about a relationship spanning decades, beginning when he was a child and continuing quietly afterward. He called her a second mother, not as emotional flourish, but as naming a presence that had been there long enough to become part of life, needing no explanation. One line from his message was repeated most often. "I thought we had time." Not a lament, not exposed self-reproach, simply a late realization, spoken when all chances for repair had closed. The sentence did not recount a specific event, but opened the feeling of things once so familiar they were never scheduled, never prioritized, until they could no longer return. No private details were revealed. No backstage story was added. What stood out most was absence, a bond that had existed quietly and steadily, now cut off without preparation. Don Culkin's response did not turn O'Hara into Hollywood's mother. It showed only that she had been a mother to someone, in silence, outside the lights, and with a steadiness that made her absence require no further explanation. That moment did not create a new tragedy. It exposed something long present. Catherine O'Hara existed not only on screen, she existed in the lives of those who grew up with her, in ways never documented. Thus, when she vanished, what remained wasn't a role ending, but an absence no image could replace. In the end, what remained was not a performance or a title. It was a specific feeling O'Hara left in others' lives. Not the burst that accompanies a star's arrival, but the reassurance of her presence. When she entered the frame, the world often slowed just enough to hold steady. Comedy did not tip into excess. Emotion did not slip from its axis. Everything stayed in place. The names spoken after her passing were not rivals or adversaries, but ordinary roles she had quietly filled. Mentor to younger actors on the set of Schitt's Creek. A model of motherhood for a generation of child performers. A comedic anchor for ensembles working long days, where laughter served not only entertainment, but survival. Recognition that arrived late, from Moira Rose to end career awards, did not make O'Hara a different person. And it illuminated what had long been present. She did not practice her craft by seizing the center, but by keeping that center steady so others could continue. What she left behind did not need naming. It lived in comedy used to support, rather than overpower, in care for rhythm, shared space, and the people beside her. When an ensemble functioned smoothly, when laughter appeared without leaving anyone behind, Catherine O'Hara was there. She moved through life with a heart not located in its usual place. That biological detail was sometimes noted as unusual, but perhaps it simply echoed another truth. In an industry often cold and hurried, she placed her emotional center precisely where it was needed. Not for display, not demanding to be seen, quietly holding rhythm so others could stand. For decades, she gave audiences her voice, body, and laughter, not to hide sorrow, but to make it bearable. And when she left, she chose a manner much like herself. No prolonged farewell, no final performance. The lights went out, without noise, without extension, just as she had existed. The silence she left behind is not empty. It is filled with what she offered: support, care, and a rare sense of safety within creative work. She does not need apology for leaving, and only remembrance with gratitude that for a very long time she was there. And that was enough.